Hello and welcome to Reel 151 of the Cinematic Attic video collection. As you will see this time around, things are a little bit different. The biggest thing is I'm on camera for the first time. Something I wanted to do for years, and hey, why not now? So the other change, of course, is that other than this just being simply a look at what movies I've picked up, hence the video collection part of the original title of this series, I want to be able to talk a little bit more about the movies also. I've been doing audio podcasts for, well, since 2006, and I wanted to make this a little bit more like that with, segments and different things like that. So if you keep watching, you'll see what I mean. First of all, right up front, I want to say to anyone and everyone watching, I'm not doing this to be some kind of YouTube personality. I don't care about likes. I don't care about any of that stuff. Mainly the only thing I care about is that we keep things positive. So if you leave a comment, if it's not a nice comment, if it's not a comment of, carrying on a conversation about film, don't bother. If you want to leave a thumbs up, wonderful. If you don't, well, let's be honest. If you are someone who gives thumbs down to videos, you're just a jerk. So watch something else. But beyond that, I will get into first showing you what things I've picked up recently that I want to spotlight. So a few things from Scream Factory, and a lot of these are upgrades of bad public domain or similar type DVD copies that I've had for years, things that have been panned and scanned and blurry, terrible prints, things, you got for $1 at Walmart, Mill Creek 50 movie packs, those old Brentwood 4 movie packs, whatever. Things were full screen and looked terrible. So I've been working on trying to upgrade a lot of those. So a lot of the stuff you'll see here is me doing that, as well as upgrading some VHS, which is an ongoing project also. So first, Fangs of the Living Dead from Scream Factory. This is one I had on a terrible old DVD print. I got a double feature of Cellar Dweller and Catacombs. Of course, some of these have been out a while. They're not all new stuff, but they're things that I'm upgrading. I had both of these on a previous Shout Factory release that were in full screen, and now they're not. Tales from the Crypt, Vault of Horror, classic horror anthologies. I had Tales from the Crypt on VHS and Vault of Horror on a terrible full-screen DVD. The limited Dead Space Blu-ray. The only place where you can get a widescreen copy of this. The DVD that Shout Factory put out a while back is full screen. And you get that version on here as well. But hey, and this I got on eBay. And then from Shout Factory proper, their Shout Select, picked up nothing but trouble because I've had this DVD for years that is full screen, so I can get rid of that. Oh, and here's the Tales from the Crypt that's going away. Alright, so moving to some Vestron Collector's Classics, or Collector's Series. Slaughter High, the DVD I had of this was full screen. Steel Dawn, the new one of the new ones. This I got because it was cheap. It was like $10 on Amazon, and it will upgrade this VHS. Chopping Mall, one of my favorite covers ever. My DVD was full screen, so picked up this Blu-ray, the #1 of the Collector's Series for Vestron. I have a lot of catching up to do with these Vestrons. Class of 1999, Again, my DVD was full screen. And finally, the director's cut of Dementia 13, which would be great, except it's actually shorter. So I had to also get a decent copy of the original cut, and that was also one that I had a horrible DVD copy of. So I got this Blu-ray of Dementia 13 from whatever company this is from. And from that same company, The Terror, which I also had on a terrible old DVD copy. And these two you can actually buy in a box set. There's, cardboard sleeve. But I was actually able to get them cheaper without it. So I did. Then I got a couple of films from Christina Lindberg, the star of Thriller, A Cruel Picture, one of the greatest grindhousey films of all time. These are a couple of the Swedish films I got on DVD. I've seen these a long time ago. Anita and Made in Sweden. Anita with an early appearance by Stellan Skarsgård, which is very interesting to see. For $10, Leprechaun 7-film collection on Amazon, $10. So I said yeah, because most of the Leprechaun films that I have, like these on DVD, they're full screen, so I'm getting rid of that. Also can upgrade this VHS, and just because I happen to have it, this DVD of Leprechaun Origins, which is on here. Yeah, so all 7 films in widescreen on Blu-ray, $10. If it's still on Amazon and you want this, I'd go grab it. From Kino and Scorpion, Trackdown. Again, my DVD was full screen. Then we're getting into one of my director finds of 2021, Bela Tarr. I got a couple of his films. SÁTÁNTANGÓ. This is a 7.5 hour, roughly 7.5 hour movie, and it's fabulous. Also got The Turin Horse, which is only like 2.5 hours, but also fabulous. But I just saw these for the first time last year and had to buy them. I will talk about these more later in the episode. From Criterion, Gene Dillman, and a long title full of all sorts of other words. This is a, I think 3.5 hour movie from Chantal Akerman, that I also watched for the first time last year and thought was fabulous. But one thing that she has in common as a director with Bela Tarr is they are films that are slow and demand endurance and attention, but they pay off amazingly. So I'll talk about this one later also. From MVD, Rewind, Final Justice. In this, I see what they were going for with this slipcover, to make it look like an old cut box and a white shell that's faded that might have been on a rental shelf in an old video store. This is what the cover looks like, normal colors versus the faded. I get what they were going for, but I don't know if it worked, but that's okay, it's fine, doesn't matter. But that will upgrade this full screen DVD I have, which is actually interesting. It has a blue color instead of the yellow. This movie, on recommendation from another person on YouTube, Extra the Mutilator, who is one of my favorites on YouTube. He recommended this movie, Robot World. I watched it streaming. I loved it. Had to own it. From the cover and the title, it may not look like super quality. Not that that would really matter with me. But it's really good. I'll talk about this one more later also. From Kino Lorber, Donovan's Brain. The DVD I have of this says it's full screen, formatted to fit your television. So I bought this Blu-ray. I see the aspect ratio is 1:37:1, which is not that far off. So I wonder how much different it really is. But it's okay. Have it on Blu-ray. There's no question. Here it is. Silent Running. $10 on Amazon. And that will upgrade this VHS. Got a couple of Hercules movies. From Film Detective, my first Film Detective Blu-ray. Hercules and the Captive Women. Italian Hercules movie. Film Detective is doing some pretty interesting stuff. This actually has some cool special features, including a nice little documentary feature about Hercules in cinema, at least from this era. So, pretty pleased with that. And the other one I got from Kino Classics, Hercules in the Haunted World. Another Italian Hercules film. Those two, of course, upgrading horrible old Mill Creek prints that I have of those. From 88 Films, a Region B Blu-ray of Eliminators, some crazy sci-fi. My DVD is full screen. Couple from Code Red that I got. I think I got these both from eBay. The Redeemer, Son of Satan, also known as Class Reunion Massacre, which is what I have it as on my crummy budget DVD copy that I got for $1 at Walmart eons ago. And then this triple feature, Mama's Dirty Girl, Super Van, and Piranha Piranha. I got this mainly to upgrade these two. I have a full screen DVD of Super Van that I'm keeping because it has some special features. And this I also have on an old full screen print. So I got it basically for these two. But hey, 3 movies. There you go. The only Vinegar Syndrome in this pile, I have some on the way. I got this on eBay because it's out of print. Horror House on Highway 5. I got this because this was the one remaining Vinegar Syndrome title in their catalog that I have on VHS that needed to be upgraded. So this will be going away. This now see, here's an example of what I'm talking about. With this one, they made this look like it was cut, put into a white case, and sat in the video store window and got faded. This one not so much faded, but you can see it's cut. Box is cut to fit. If you're a movie collector, you know what I mean. Let's see. Okay. DVD of Dead Heat. Now, I anticipated the first question going through all of your minds. Why get this DVD of Dead Heat when Vinegar Syndrome just right now is putting out a 4K? Well, simply, I was planning to upgrade this VHS anyway, but this DVD was only a few dollars on Amazon. And one of the things that I will put out there right now for this channel is I'm not a format snob. It's fine if you want to get this in Blu-ray and 4K, I would love to too, but it comes down to economics. I don't really need to have a 4K of this. All I really need is to have this in a proper aspect ratio and a watchable copy, and by having this, I don't feel pressured to go after the, what, $30, $40 4K from Vinegar Syndrome, which there's nothing wrong with, believe me. But this year I've taken a different path. Last year I tried to experiment of getting everything Vinegar Syndrome was putting out, and I wish I could continue doing that. They're my favorite company. But I've had to make some choices if I want to keep buying other things. So, got a few dollar DVD copy from Image Entertainment. Severin. So I finally got my Black Friday order from Severin. Only took 2 months. I'm not going to complain about that. I understand what they're going through. I understand what everyone's going through. It is a little unusual to have to wait that long for an order. I will put that out there. But I got it, so hey. Got the new House on the Edge of the Park Blu-ray. Nice heavy item. There's 3 discs in here. This will actually upgrade an old DVD copy from Mill Creek that is not so great. I also got, there it is, Bloody Pit of Horror, which again will upgrade an old Mill Creek DVD. I got a couple of titles from past releases. Strike Commando, which will upgrade a full screen DVD copy I have on one of those, I think those old Video Asia collections. I didn't get Strike Commando 2 yet. I hope to eventually. Day of the Animals, which actually upgrades a VHS. But I'm keeping the VHS because it's a media release with the alternate cover, which I love. So keeping that. Then they had DVDs, some DVDs for $3 a piece. So I did that, did some upgrading. Drive-In Massacre, one that I have on a bad DVD copy, full screen. Invasion of the Blood Farmers. Again, my DVD copy that I had before, full screen. Nightmare Castle, Barbara Steele. My DVD copy, probably full screen, not a good print though, so got that. And Kathy's Curse, same reasons. And that will also upgrade a VHS. And then one that I did not get from the sale but ordered later, Primitives. I actually got this from Amazon. Because I realized I have this on a terrible print, terrible full screen print on a Video Asia collection, so pick that up. Then we have some Arrow. We have Blood Tide. Again, upgrading an old full screen DVD. The Night Evelyn Came Out of the Grave. Same reason. These two, I was searching around through Arrow releases and I saw these two pop up. And I didn't really know Arrow had put these out. I saw these movies a long time ago. They were pretty cheap. So I ordered Frivolous Lola and Cheeky, both Tinto Brass movies that are quite amusing. And then the final Arrow, Psychomania. Again, because I have a full screen DVD. Here's a look at some other things I picked up. Okay, so that my videos aren't 17 hours long, I am doing some of these the old-fashioned way, just by showing you like this. Some things I picked up from a antique mall. A lot of these are VHS upgrades. To get one 4K there. A lot of common titles. Got these two from a different antique mall, both VHS upgrades. Dollar Tree with a January drop of DVDs and Blu-rays. Here's what I picked up. Just building the library, folks. This is interesting. A set of 4 Italian giallo films, and they're all widescreen. From Amazon and Dollar General. And so here are some VHS that will be leaving the collection. Okay, so I wanted to talk about my top 10 favorite movie watches from 2021. And when I say top 10, it's not really a top 10 as you think of, as in counting down the 10 best, or even, you know, the 10 favorite. It is 10 of my favorites. Half the list was pretty solid. The other half, it was very difficult. Some of these movies could have been switched out for others, given my mood or what day of the week. But I made myself pick 10 of my favorite watches from 2021. So I'm just going to talk briefly about those. And I try to always spotlight ones that I own on disc or VHS if that's the case. But one of these 10 actually doesn't, to my knowledge, exist on home video, on physical media. And we'll get to that one. But first, and these are in no order. Nope, no order whatsoever. The Last Stop. This movie is from 2000. It is a thriller. It is one of those films that have a limited number of cast that are trapped or confined to a certain space, a certain building, a certain place. And something happens. In this case, and in a lot of cases, it's a murder. Someone is killed, and it's got to be one of the people there, right? In this instance, it is a remote lodge in the Colorado mountains during a horrendous snowstorm. So these people, including Adam Beach, who is a character actor. The last movie I can remember seeing him in, he played the father of Danny Moonstar in New Mutants. You have Rose McGowan, of course, Jordan Prochnow. And they're all in this lodge in a snowstorm. Somebody's killed. Who did it? It's twisty, it's turny, it's a thriller. It's one of those movies that, when it hits you in the right mood, it's exactly what you're looking for. I happen to love those kind of movies with that kind of plot, that kind of situation. I also love movies where there's a snowstorm and people are trying to deal with that. This would be an immensely awesome movie to watch during a snowstorm if you're stuck in your house. but it's just a little thriller that was probably straight to video, and who's heard of this? I don't know, but I caught it. I had it on VHS. I watched it on VHS, and I knew that I needed to own a better copy. Unfortunately, the only better copy that exists is this DVD. So this is one that is perfect for someone to eventually put out on Blu-ray in these days when all sorts of obscure straight-to-video stuff is going to Blu-ray. So, The Last Stop from 2000. The next one is the one I mentioned that is not available on home video that I know of. In 2021, there were a few directors that I got really into, and one of them was Isabel Sandoval. I watched all three of her current features, Senorita, Apparition, and Lingua Franca. The first two were on the Criterion channel. I don't believe they are anymore. Lingua Franca is still on Netflix as far as I know. But my favorite of the three was Apparition from 2012. This took place in a convent. It's a bunch of nuns in a convent in, I believe, the Philippines during a certain time. And there's of course an inner struggle with characters there, but there's also a bigger plot of one of the residents being attacked. And as the movie progresses, we get a continuation of a flashback that reveals more information about this attack, which then becomes relevant to what we're seeing in the present. And it just unfolds wonderfully. It's just a great little movie. And this director is one that I plan to follow and see every film that she makes. But this one, it kind of also had that claustrophobic sense of being stuck in this location, kind of like The Last Stop, and there is an attack and they have to deal with it. But the fun is well, I wouldn't call it fun necessarily, but the interesting thing about watching it is watching it unfold and seeing the truth come out in the end. But yeah, so Apparition, 2012, Isabel Sandoval. I'd recommend any of her films. Right now, like I said, Lingua Franca is the most accessible to anybody. But the third one is No Down Payment. This is from 1957. It stars Joanne Woodward, Sherry North, Tony Randall, Jeffrey Hunter, Cameron Mitchell, Patricia Owens, Barbara Rush, Pat Hingle. Who doesn't like Pat Hingle? Cameron Mitchell plays a really disgusting character. Jeffrey Hunter, we know him, the original Captain Pike. This, in Star Trek, that is. This is one that I think I watched on the Criterion channel first. I could be mistaken. But I watched this, and when I started watching this, the movie seemed to be like a comedy. The music, the atmosphere, the way it began, you started to think, oh, this is going to be some light 50s comedy. I mean, Tony Randall's in it. You kind of expect that, but it's not. I think, in a sense, the way it starts out and gives you that fake air of everything's happy and fun, but it's really not, is kind of a theme in this whole movie. This is one of those post-war 1950s, everybody's getting a home in the suburbs, and everybody's prosperous kind of movies. But really, is that all real? Or is it really that idyllic? That's kind of what this examines, just how unreal that kind of life was. It examines a bunch of people living in a housing development. You know, these two new characters move in, Jeffrey Hunter and his wife move in. They meet the other people, and you kind of see what the lives of the other people are like individually and then all together, how they interact, all of their hidden secrets, their faults, and it just plays really well. I actually watched this 2 times, which never happens. Well, I shouldn't say never. Sometimes I watch a movie a second time, but there's so many movies out there, I rarely do that. But I found it really fascinating that this movie tackled that subject in the 50s, as it was kind of happening. So that was kind of neat. But it is dramatic. I mean, some of the dramatic stuff in it that would have been pretty shocking then maybe doesn't play as shocking now. But it is still a dramatic movie that had something to say then that I think we realize now. So highly recommend this. I got the Twilight Time Blu-ray. I had to get it from eBay because it's out of print, of course. At least I think it is. Twilight Time has had some changes. But yeah, this good movie. Next up, we have a trio of what you would call slow films. Some people call them slow films. To me, that's a little bit of a insult, but I can see where people might be bored by these. First up, this movie that I mentioned that I got earlier, Gene Dillman, and then the rest of the title there, which I'm not going to attempt. This is by Chantal Akerman from 1975. This is the Criterion Blu-ray. This is about 3.5 hours. 3.5 hours of this woman's, well, 3.5 hours chronicling 3 days of this woman's life. Her everyday routine. So we watch her make food. We watch her do like laundry. We watch her run errands. We watch her do all sorts of things. And you get so in tune with that. Now, I can see how somebody would be possibly bored by this, but you kind of have to realize that all movies are not going to have the same pace. People are used to this Hollywood pace, which, you know, that pace is fine, but there are other ways to pace a film. There are other ways to do things. Once you kind of surrender to just sitting with this movie, watching things happen. I watched this in the middle of the night when I would easily be put to sleep by something, and I was mesmerized and awake. The fun thing here is once you really get into that slow pace and watching her do these things, you do start to notice what you're supposed to notice, in that things start going wrong. Things in her routine start getting off of track. And I mean, I even noticed once when she forgot to button a button, and we're supposed to see that, or at least, you know, that was purposeful. And it all leads up to a shock of an ending, what could be a surprise of an ending, but once you really examine the ending, you could see that her breakdown was leading to some kind of thing. So without giving it away, but I discovered Chantal Akerman last year to a greater degree. I watched a few of her films. I really got in tune with her film style. This was kind of a revelation in a way. And this film would make a really good double feature with another film on this list, which we'll get to in a minute, by the director of Satan Tango, Bellatar. This one I also mentioned earlier. This one is from 1994. Bellatar is another director I discovered in 2021. And again, 7.5 hours. A lot of the film is just watching things happen in real time. Absorbing what you're looking at. This very long opening scene, for example, of just panning across this area, watching these animals walking, watching things happen. Could those moments have been edited down some? Sure, perhaps. But, as it is, it makes a really, again, mesmerizing viewing experience. This this is about a village, a Hungarian village, and the people who live there, they're all very poor. It kind of sits a little while with each character and then shows this other character coming in who tries to get them to buy into this scheme of his, and where it goes from there. I don't want to give too much away. It also shows things sometimes out of order, but it always shows the intersection of where those events come together, so that you don't really get lost. It actually makes it a much more interesting puzzle when you watch it, especially if you were to watch it a second time. You kind of know where things are really coming in. And my favorite character was the professor, who basically just sits by his window, watching people, making notes. Yeah. But this was another revelation. Of course, I had to watch this over 2 evenings because it's very long, but it is kind of a monumental work. And the other one by Béla Tarr that I watched, The Turin Horse, is the one that would make an interesting double feature with Chantal Akerman's film, because this one also takes a look at someone's routine, their daily routine. There is a man and his daughter in 1889 Italy, out in the country, out in the middle of nowhere. It's this man, his daughter, and they have this horse, who, the Turin horse, who is the means by which the father makes his living. By he's as a cab driver, so to speak. And you watch them go through their daily routine, and early on, they find that the horse won't leave the premises, so they're kind of stuck there. So in a sense, it's also kind of like the other movies where there are people who can't leave a certain spot. The film score gives it this ever-present, haunting feeling. Béla Tarr's films are in black and white, so it's already drained of color. It just has this air of hopelessness. But this film in particular is like nihilism incarnate. The ending, once you get towards the ending, and things start to come together in your brain as to why their daily routine is breaking down, much like Jean Dielman's daily routine is breaking down. The consequences or the results, the end result here, is quite a bit more bleak. Once the reality or unreality, so to speak, of this ending starts to sink in, it's a mind bender, and it was fascinating. It's one of those movies that when it's over, you're still sitting there staring at the screen, even if the credits have finished, and you're just absorbing what you just watched. This was amazing, and it was Béla Tarr's last movie, as he declared it to be his last movie, from 2011. Picked this up on Blu-ray because I had to. Next up, we have from 1989, from those great folks at AGFA, the McPherson tape. I originally watched this on Shudder, I believe. This is not a long film. It's barely over an hour. It's a shot on video, kind of like a found footage film. So it has that VHS, shot on VHS quality, but that lends to the authentic feeling of the scare in it. It's about an everyday family who gets together for a birthday party, and it's proceeding as such, and it feels just like watching someone's home videos of a birthday party, until something happens that makes the characters go out into the woods to see something, and they do see something. They see some aliens who they realize probably saw them too. And so the aliens do make their way to the house where these folks are having their party, and things go south from there. It is very creepy, very well done. This was a great find. I had to get it on Blu-ray at the last Vinegar Syndrome sale, and highly recommend this one if you are a fan of shot on video, of course, but also alien threat movies. Not one to watch if you have a deep, sincere, real fear of aliens. And I do know some people who do. This one will give you nightmares, possibly. Next up, from 2008, a movie that does not feel like it's from 2008, Cyborg Soldier. And this and the last two films after this all share one thing in common. The covers do not really sell them whatsoever. This looks like it could be a wrestling video or something. I don't know, this cover, no. But someone at work recommended this movie to me. It's on Netflix, I think. But I had this DVD. I knew I had it on DVD, so I just pulled it off the shelf and watched it. This movie feels like it's from the 80s, which is a good thing. It has Bruce Greenwood, Tiffany Thiessen, Saved by the Bell, yep, Rich Franklin, and it is very simply a cyborg man escapes from a lab where he was created. He doesn't really understand who he is. He runs across Tiffany Thiessen, who's playing a police officer, and he's being chased by the people from the lab who want to get him back. And Tiffany Thiessen gets mixed up in it and eventually helps the cyborg not only get away from the bad guys, but then eventually go back to them to resolve his situation. This was just a fun movie. I'm sure this could pass by a lot of people as just, yeah, just another low-budget action movie, cyborg soldier, big deal. But this was just a really fun watch, especially if you love movies from the 80s, action movies from the 80s with very relatively simple plots like that just go from point A to B and deliver some fun. This I just had a lot of fun with. So, Cyborg Soldier from 2008. Next, Outpost. Again, this cover could think it's just a war film, although if you look a little closely, there are some scary folks in the back. This is pretty much a zombie movie, but it goes a little further with that. I'm sure a lot of you have seen this. What I like about this especially is that it pulls in a lot of other things. A lot of science, a lot of like quantum science. Time and space kind of stuff. To work in their zombies. And it's it is scary. It's it's suspenseful scary. And it's, again, people trapped in one spot in this underground bunker, this outpost that they're investigating, where they find that, in the past, Nazis were experimenting with things, and one of the results was some zombies. But it's just really well done. Really, it was quite a surprise. I mean, I've heard things about this. I've heard people say that they like this movie. Just never watched it. But I'm ever so glad I did. If you like zombie movies, if you like, Soldiers on a Mission movie even. A lot of fun here. So, Outpost, 2008, another 2008 movie. And the final one I showed earlier, Robot World. Again, with a cover that does not sell it. Does not sell it. I mean, sure, it's a cool picture, but it and the title just, seem very, I hate to say the word generic, but it does not reveal what's inside. Now, this is an example. Back in the old video store days, you often had the cover being better than the movie. In this case, you have the movie being better than the cover. Actually, in these past three examples, the movie is better than the cover. From 2015, this movie had the feeling of real science fiction. The good old kind of science fiction you would read, where it would make a statement. It would also have a surprise, a twist, and in this case, two twists. It is low budget, but the robot pet of it, just for lack of a better term, was well done. I like what they did with the story, the space, the ideas. Once you start watching the movie, you kind of start to predict the first twist, but then the second one you don't see coming. At least I didn't see it. And it was just a wonderful, pleasant view. Super surprised. Like I said earlier, I put this on because it had been recommended, and I liked it so much. Of course, had to buy it, and it became one of my favorite watches of 2021. So there you have it. 10 of my favorite watches from 2021. Give them a shot. You may like them. Who knows? Okay, and finally, on today's episode, I want to introduce you to what I call the Pantheon. And the Pantheon is my list of all-time favorite films. I keep this list ongoing. I keep updating it every time a film that is really something special comes along. And right now it's up to about 120 entries. So, as we go into the future of these YouTube episodes, I want to introduce them a few at a time to you, and this time around we're going to get a whole bunch, because the 10 films that I just talked about as my favorite watches of 2021, those are all I guess you could say last year's inductees, although there were more than that. So all 10 of those films are in the Pantheon. But rather than just say that today, I'm going to show you two others. Two of my top four. I do have top four films. When people ask me, what's your favorite movie? I can say, well, I have a top four I can offer you. So here's two of them. One of them, Savage Streets, 1984, Linda Blair, revenge film. I love this movie because it is just the epitome of 80s grindhousey exploitation, revenge, grimy kind of movie. This basically has all the elements that would fit any definition of, a grimy grindhouse 80s exploitation movie. This movie I have seen I don't know how many times. I do have this Code Red Blu-ray. I have the Scorpion DVD. And I still have the Vestron VHS, where I first watched it. And I'm keeping a hold of all of these, because it is one of my all-time favorite films. Linda Blair plays Brenda, who goes out for revenge for people who assaulted somebody, killed somebody. I won't give it all away. To this bunch of street punks. And so if you love movies with 80s street punks, there you go. And those punks are called the Scars. I love this movie so much that I have a song. My band has a song called Francine Off the Bridge, which once you see this movie, you'll know what that means. But yeah, this one, and John Vernon is in this. It's just insane. I mean, I can see where this would not be for some people. There is a particular scene in it that could be a little hard to watch with Linnea Quigley, but it's just fantastic example of revenge action 80s craziness. Love it. The other film is one that maybe more of you have seen or are aware of, and that is The Warriors, 1979. This is my DVD copy. I do have a Blu-ray copy, although as you can see on this Blu-ray copy, director's cut. Don't watch that one. I mean, watch it if you want to see the difference. I'm not going to tell you not to watch something. But this original version, which as far as I know, at least in the United States, is only on DVD, is the one to watch. But this is directed by Walter Hill. It has that favorite line in it, you know, warriors come out and play. It's about a street gang who has to get from point A to point B being their home turf, when all of these other street gangs are out there to get them because they've been accused of killing somebody that they didn't kill. So it's kind of like quest movie, a we have to reach this spot movie with all these obstacles and all these people trying to get us. And it really feels kind of post-apocalyptic in the sense of the locations, and just the sense that in the real world, even if it's not post-apocalyptic necessarily, maybe futuristic, because in the real world, the you're not going to see a street gang that has a baseball theme with baseball bats and outfits. I mean, all these gangs have themes. It's not realistic, but in a good way. That makes you believe you're not really looking at the real world, and that's kind of fun. But it's just exciting. It's a great adventure movie, and I had not seen this until maybe 2000. I don't know, 17 or so, somewhere around there. And I can't believe I had waited that long in my life before seeing this, because this is fantastic. Shot right up there to my top 4. I have in my mind what I call the Warriors cinematic universe, which is to say that I have this group of films in my mind that I can picture all taking place in the same world as this movie. Maybe not even necessarily, you know, at the same time frame, but at least in the same world as this movie. And I kind of see Savage Streets as being a movie that could exist in this world. So I believe this movie is set, in Hollywood streets in LA, California. So, you know, this one is more New York, this one's more California. I can see it in the same world. Maybe. Anytime I find any of those movies, or I talk about any of those movies in the future, I will reference them as being potential Warriors Cinematic Universe movies. It's a wonderful thing to think of if you love this movie. Anyway, well, that's 2 movies plus the 10 from before that are part of the Pantheon, and I'll talk about more of them in the future. But until then, enjoy your movies. Don't hate on movies. Movies are wonderful.